Well, hello there, hockey fans, and it is time for the first edition of Into the Wilderness for the new 2022-23 season. This is a special training camp preview and also a chance to get to know one of the new coaching hires that the team has made here. We've got head coach GM Dave Boitz with us here to start things off. Later on in the program, we will have new associate head coach Brett Skinner. So thanks for joining us here on this program. And thank you, Dave Boitz, for helping us kick off this new season of the program and the new season of Wilderness Hockey in general, the 10th season for the team in the NAHL.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's hard to believe 10th season coming up, and seems like yesterday we were getting this thing, trying to get this figured out. So it's pretty fun to realize that.
Yeah, I remember back. I remember the first meeting that we had with all the volunteers that were going to be part of the team back in way back in the day, 2013-14 season. So yeah, lots has happened since then. So, but first thing that I wanted to get into here is the new coaching hires, and we mentioned Coach Skinner. The team also hiring Kyle Brody, a former assistant with the Wenatchee AAA programs and an alum of UW Stevens Point. And so a couple of new guys added on to the staff. Dave, what were some of the things that you liked about these guys in it before making the final decision to hire them?
Well, I mean, they're both really quality people, and I knew Kyle as a player, and he was a great player, and I've heard nothing but really good things from him, from the people who've coached him and known him, and then Brett, knowing two of the head coaches that Brett worked under in Sioux Falls, and Marty Murray and Scott Owens, just couldn't say enough good things about him. So both guys came highly recommended, and we're excited to have both of them.
Yeah, I see that. Good quality hockey background for these guys, and just it seems to have a good knowledge of the game. Both of them do.
Yeah, they're both really smart hockey guys, obviously, and and so it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see what we can, how we can take the next step here and have a couple guys come in here that have the knowledge they have, and really want to improve their coaching career and move on to the next level.
So let's get into the player situation with what we got now. Looking at from last season, you got a handful of guys coming back. I like to call the one group the three C's with Charlie, Cole, and Cal. That's Charlie Erickson, Cole Gordon, Cal Knight. You also got Bryce Howard there, Severi Sulinen as well. All those guys were with the team the entire season. Conrad Kausch also returning. I see Ren Morquay on the roster, along with a few guys that I remember. Some folks may remember that were affiliate players last season. Joe Cesario, Ian Duffy, and Cole Christian as some of those guys that names that look familiar.
Yeah, so quite a few names actually. When you start rattling them off like that, it's like there's 9 or 10 names there. And yeah, the guys we have coming back are coming off a really successful team, and so they have a pretty good idea what it takes, and good group of guys we had last year. So those guys will bring that into this year's team, I'm sure. And then yeah, those few guys that did some affiliate stuff with us last year. Excited to have those guys come back and be in more of a regular situation for us.
Yeah, when you look at who's coming back, it's heavy on the forward side of things. When you look at Seven Ren really impressed in the few games that you had him last season as somebody that I think can maybe be someone that can really take the lead defensively.
Well, he was a lifesaver for us. If you remember, he came in when first when Bobby Metz got hurt. In Anchorage, and then right after that, Aaron Pionk got hurt, and Ren was able to step in and played a significant role for us down the stretch. We were sorry not to have him in the playoffs, but he was just terrific for us. Played like a seasoned veteran right away, so it was great to have him.
And also, real quick, if you look at I know there's always that possibility of some guys coming from the USHL, so I'm sure that's something you'll be keeping an eye on as the season gets started.
Yeah, we have probably our biggest number of guys we've ever had in that league to start. So I think there's 12 of them over there, between guys coming off of last year's team and guys that we've drafted or tendered. So lot of guys there. A lot of things could still happen here in the fall. So we're just going to move forward with the guys we have now, and if that stuff develops, then we'll react to it at that time.
All right, let's look at some of the events that you got coming up here over the next couple of weeks. Of course, camp gets started on the 29th, and I understand just as we speak, there are guys coming in, and you've got a skate with the Wilderness coming up at Northwoods Credit Union Arena on September 1. That includes a season pass sale, if I understand right, and then the preseason game coming up Friday against Austin. All tickets only $5. And then the team goes to Austin the following night. Both those games available on Hockey TV if you can't make it. And then also season opening weekend at home against Fairbanks, September 9th and 10th. And then right after that, you get the golf scramble before the guys head to Blaine on Wednesday for the beginning of the showcase. So it's really just a jam-packed couple of weeks coming up for you.
Yeah, pretty busy for sure, and it starts this week with practice, and then of course the skate with the Wilderness is a traditional thing we have every year, where the youth hockey players and their parents can buy their season passes, and then pops right into the exhibition games versus Austin, home and away with Austin, and then the home opener is the earliest we've ever had a home opener. So home opener this year with Fairbanks on the 9th and 10th. Friday night we're going to be doing half price tickets, sponsored. Sammy's Pizza stepped up, so pretty exciting. Saturday night we'll have our traditional tailgate party with a live band, and B&B Market will be giving away hot dogs and hamburgers in the parking lot. So it should be a fun time coming up here. And then like you said, the golf outing, and then down to the showcase. So a lot happening.
Yeah, it's and then on top of that, with the 10th anniversary, you're bringing the red jerseys back.
Yep, we've got our 10th anniversary red jerseys, and so it'll be exciting to see them out there. And I know the guys loved wearing the red ones last year, but these are special jerseys for this season, so it's gonna be fun to introduce those on home opener.
I got to remember to unmute myself here, Dave. But yeah, so the with that, I wanted, I know we had tried one take of this earlier, and I had a number of songs just dealing with one situation going on, but I'm changing that up here because I got to keep you on your toes. So we're gonna make this more about songs to symbolize 10 Wilderness hockey seasons, and I'm putting this up here. We got Long and Winding Road by the Beatles, Good Times Bad Times by Led Zeppelin, You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet from BTO. And I'm throwing in two more Rolling Stones songs here because I can't just throw in one and make it easy for you here, Dave. I know you're a big Stones fan. So you got Start Me Up, and it's only rock and roll, but I like it. So what do you think here? Which one here would be the best to symbolize the 10 seasons of Wilderness hockey?
I like to see Bachman Turner Overdrive. You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. I think that's a good choice, and I love it. I think that's the perfect line for what's going on here.
All right. If only we could get them to perform in the tailgate party, hey? But I understand you got a good band coming. You always do every year, so we'll look forward to that.
Yes.
And so terrific.
And called Friends of Mine. I don't know if you've ever heard of them or not. So yeah. So
who's that?
They're called Friends of Mine.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's good to get the word out to folks there. I'm not familiar with them, but maybe some in the audience have heard them before. So awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, Dave, for joining us here, and we'll look forward to the season getting rolling, and everything that's going to develop with this team in at least for the first month or so.
Sounds great. Thanks, Marty.
All right, Dave, and we'll be back in a moment. We've got new associate head coach Brett Skinner coming up. Well, hello there, hockey fans, and welcome. It is time for our conversation with new associate head coach Brett Skinner on this edition of Into the Wilderness. And Coach, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you along here, and a chance to get to know you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
And I see you're at the trailer. You're sporting some new duds here with the new Wilderness sweatshirt, and folks are going to be able to see that. And all tied with the 10th season of the team in the NAHL, and a season that we're all looking forward to. And how are things going for you, getting settled in up here?
Yeah, I just got to town. Obviously, a lot of communicating with Boitz leading up to being here, and he was really good. Just probably talked a few times a day, trying to be organized for when I got to town, and he did a really good job where everything's kind of running all cylinders, but now just trying to get my feet under me and get settled, and more than anything, just excited to get started.
Yeah, you got a few days, I guess, before camp opens to just kind of get your feet underneath you here up in the area here. But a chance for you, I guess, to really get to know the area a little bit for at least a few days before the real work begins.
Yeah, Boitz has been taking myself and Kyle out at least for lunch, and picking him up in the morning and driving to the rink and trying to get my directions down and that kind of thing, and get to see the area and some of the local restaurants and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been good to get here, and beautiful part of the world to get up here and get out and about in.
All right, so we're going to just kind of share with folks a little bit about your playing career and what that involved. And I've got a little thing here that has a little bit of a summary of some of your accomplishments. And there you are with the Islanders Union, and a couple times with the Denver got to hoist the national championship trophy. And I see you had an AHL All-Star Game appearance as well as a Calder Cup championship, and I see a championship in the Czechia League, and obviously some WCHA and NCAA accomplishments along with USHL Defenseman of the Year. I noticed that your experience in the NHL, you were on the team with that includes Bill Guerin, now general manager of the Minnesota Wild, also Doug Weight, who was an all-star in the league and also an Olympian. If you can talk about that experience and what it was like to play in the big show.
Yeah, it was. It actually came, I guess, in my third season. So I'd had some experience in the NHL before that, but hadn't played any games. I'd been up with Anaheim with Scott Niedermayer and Chris Pronger, a really nice decor. And then when I finally got a chance to get up with the Islanders and play some games, obviously, like you said, when you're around guys like Bill Guerin and Doug Weight every day, you just kind of you're sitting there just like a sponge trying to soak everything in. Obviously, very appreciative of the 11 games I got. When you reflect on it, it doesn't sound like a lot, but certainly was a special time in my career. I played for Scott Gordon, who had coached me the year before at Providence, and so that was pretty cool too. But yeah, anytime I had the opportunity to be up in the NHL, whether it was a reflective of those 11 games or other times I was up in training camps or call-ups where I didn't play, was obviously a real special time, especially reflecting back on it now.
Yeah, and if you can talk a little bit about your time at Denver, winning those two national championships, and you think about that program. Of course, over the last decade or so, people are used to seeing Denver among the teams there that are always contending for a title. That team that won that title, the first of your titles, that was kind of a resurgence for that squad, and you guys were able to get a second championship there that very next year. So, what was that like for that team to be part of that program?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think you look at the University of Denver now; it's tied for the most national championships all time. But at the time that I went to school, they hadn't won one in I think 30 years almost. And they had just built a new Magnus. The senior class of the team that won it the first year was the first class recruited to Magnus. So, like you said, kind of a resurgence. Obviously, at the time that I committed there was a sense that the program was kind of on the edge of being able to accomplish something like that. My freshman year, actually, we had Wade Dublitz and Nat, a really good senior class. They had a great season before. We kind of underachieved, which ultimately probably led to those two national championships where we really dug in the summer after my freshman year. And, it was just a team that could win a bunch of different ways. I know we beat there's three teams tied to be number one ranked in the country that year. We beat North Dakota in the regional was one of them. Duluth was a team in the semis in the Frozen Four that we had to beat, and that was a team we were down 2-0 5 minutes in the game, and you're kind of sitting there reflecting on maybe just being in a Frozen Four at that point, even that being a special opportunity, but coming back, and then we beat Maine in the final, where we had to kill off a 6-on-3 for over a minute and a half to win that game. So definitely a team that could win in a bunch of different ways. Coached really well by George Gwozdecki. We had a great staff while I was there. Seth Appert, who's now with the Rochester Americans, and Steve Miller, who just became assistant coach with the Gophers. So really lucky to learn out of those guys. And then obviously the next year, we kind of took that experience, maybe loaded up a little bit more with the next freshman class coming in. Had really good goaltending from Peter Menino. Paul Stastny was a freshman that year, a really strong freshman class. And, the guys that we returned from that national championship team, it was a special group. Again, we could win in a lot of different ways, but, we were high scoring, kind of almost a modern style that you would see a little bit more now. And, we're lucky to go back to back.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned George Gwozdecki, and, I had a chance to, back in the day, I used to write for USCHO.com, and he was one of the guys that was one of the easiest guys to talk to, always very cordial. And I know everybody had a lot of praise for him. And what did you really learn from him, as far as not just as a player, but as maybe as what kind of things have you taken at least from his coaching style?
Yeah, I mean, Guaz is a special coach. I think at the college level, looking back on things I learned, I wouldn't say X's and O's were anything I'd take away. Certainly, we were a well coached team and structured, but the type of person that he turned me into. I think that if you ever found yourself up in his office talking to him, it was already too late. You were in trouble. But certainly a lot of quality conversations over the years that I can reflect upon now as an adult, and very appreciative to be coached under someone as smart as him, as experienced as him, and to be honest with you, someone that I still reach out to multiple times a year just to get advice. And as recently as a month ago, kind of just calling him and not really needed anything, but just wanted some guidance from him and listen to kind of his take on things. And, someone it's hard to necessarily model myself after, because, he's a special person. You certainly try to take some of the qualities that, he had, but, that's more of maybe a long-term goal to be able to compare yourself to someone like Waz as a coach anyways. But certainly, as far as professionalism and how he presents himself, and communicates with people, would be something that I would strive for. But certainly, I consider myself lucky to have been under him for the 3 years I was there.
Right. And you go through your pro career, and you get the chance to go to it looks like it was a loan kind of a situation with Grand Rapids, but able to help them lead them to an AHL title. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so it was the year of the lockout, and the lockout just ended, and at that time I'd kind of set it up so I'd be available when the lockout ended to go back to Europe. I think there's 174 NHL players in Europe, so I thought, hey, if I'm available at that time, it could be a good situation to make some good money. And then Detroit lost Brendan Smith up to the Red Wings, and I think it was Jim Nill called me, not Blash, and they said, we have a good opportunity here for you. And I went in and played for Jeff Blashill there, and I basically just kind of slid right into that first power play spot and get to play a ton. So it was a really good opportunity for me. And as you reflect back on that team, Gustav Nyquist, Thomas Tatar, Riley Sheehan, some really good forwards that I was playing with. And then obviously the opportunity to play for Jeff Blashill, one of the, in my opinion, one of the best coaches I got a chance to play for. Just a guy that at that time, probably in my life, in my career, on the back nine of my career, where you started thinking, hey, if I'm going to be a coach someday, just, kind of in one way, it would have been nice to have a coach like that earlier in my career. Might have catapulted me to a longer NHL career, but at the same time, just to be able to have played for him and carry a lot of the things that I learned from him on into my coaching career now. And anytime you win a championship, it's really special. It takes so much to go into it. So many different bounces have to go your way. I think we played every game in the playoffs we possibly could, except for 2 that year. So it certainly was a grind. The American Hockey League's a grind anyways. And then, those playoffs, it was definitely, a lot of fun, but we earned it. Let me put it that way.
Right. Yeah, I can only imagine. And, you get that experience, and then you win another championship in Europe. So you got a chance to play the North American style, and in Europe, I imagine those leagues there are playing on the Olympic sheet. So, um, so you got a little bit of an idea of what you had to do to adapt your game there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing with, when you're in North America and you say Europe, I would say that even the leagues that I played in within Europe have different styles. My first time over was Russia, and, they had their own style, the Olympic sheet, Sweden, Finland. The Czech Republic and Finland are not the quite Olympic size, maybe a little bit more like what we have here, where it's a little bit bigger than NHL, but not the full Olympic sheet. I found the Czech league to be probably out of all the European leagues, maybe the closest to the North American style, a little bit north-south, some forechecking. Some of the leagues over there could be a little bit more passive, a little bit more controlled. Russia, there's not a lot of forechecking. It's a lot of controlled breakouts. So my last 3 years, I had a really great time in Komatov. I had a ton of talent around me. I think my first year there, we had 4 or 5 young kids that went on to play at least a little bit in the NHL. One of my good friends, Jan Ruta, won 2 Stanley Cups with Tampa Bay. Just recently signed in Pittsburgh. Had Cachet in Toronto, Kampf in Toronto now, and a few others that got a sniff in the NHL after that as well. So, you're thinking about in your last few years there and being a part of even still something special, and we kind of grew something special there. So it was definitely a time, and not only that, a beautiful country. So definitely fortunate at that time in my career to kind of continue on and have a chance to win and be a part of building that program.
How did that help you, that experience there, as far as, you'd think that would generate contacts that helps you in your coaching career to help find talent?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're always trying to make connections. I think the big thing for me now is kind of that transition into coaching where, what guys have I played with that are branching off into, different areas. And I'm at the NHL draft a month and a half ago, and I'm bumping into a guy I played with in Sweden who's actually a Czech player, and he's an agent now, so you exchange numbers and stay in touch. And when he's got a player, he's a guy that maybe I was friends with, and he trusts me, and he'll send his players to me. And I think beyond that, even having imports over here and knowing the challenges that go along with that, the language barrier, knowing that a Swedish, a Finn, a German, a Russian, they all might have different personalities, and not just putting that import tag on top of them, but being able to identify with them and at least make small talk. And I still follow those leagues, and I know that generally all those imports come over, and they're all over kind of those the leagues from whatever country they're from. So being able to kind of relate to that and talk with them and talk about what the good programs are, I think it's a huge advantage for me, having experienced that and those challenges myself, being over there alone and having a kid over here now. I think that it's been a huge advantage for me.
All right, so I want to get into your coaching career here, and we've got a little bit of a summary on that as well. And so here you are with your Sioux Falls gear on, and 5 years with the Stampede, and that included 1 Clark Cup championship and working under Scott Owens and Marty Murray. And I mentioned here that your playing career with playing under George Gwozdecki, Jeff Blashill, and so that you get to Sioux Falls, and that experience, I'm sure, obviously, I guess is where you built your coaching resume. And if you can talk about that 2018-19 team and what it was that took that championship to be built.
Yeah, well, I guess starting off, when I was getting out of hockey, my wife is born and raised in Sioux Falls. We met in college, but we had already settled there. When she was pregnant with our first Thomas, it felt like the timing was right to, kind of turn the page of my career. And I started with a phone call to Scott Owens and wanted to be there every day and be a part of the Stampede, and was really lucky that he brought me on at the time. And that next year, Nick Oliver had left for St. Cloud, so probably took on a little bit more responsibility the second year, ran the forwards, helped Scott with the power play. And that championship year, we just had a real special group. You could kind of tell from day one, very driven, very competitive, tons of skill. We had 7 players drafted in the NHL off that team. Ryan Johnson was a first-round draft pick. So a lot of talent to work with. We had a forward group that had 11 forwards with over 30 points. We had 12 forwards with at least double-digit goals. So tremendous depth. Two guys on our fourth line that had 40-plus points. So just really, a special group to work with. We were a team that our goalie probably that started the majority of our games in the second half. He got hurt with 2 weeks left in the season. And not that you can necessarily duplicate this, but we went into playoffs with the arrested goalie at that time, and it was Jackson Stauber, who's gone on to have he went on to have an unbelievable college career and signed with the Chicago Blackhawks. But he was a year younger than the other kid, and you're just luckily you have him rested, and he got hot, and you ride that wave through the playoffs. And kind of reminiscent, maybe I'd say, of that first Denver team that we won a national championship, where we could win in multiple ways. We could score, we could break a game open, we could come from behind, but especially in that playoffs, we went 11-1. A lot of people were like, "Wow, you dominated! You kind of steamrolled teams," and we it was still a grind. We kind of grinded our way through every game, but just we're finding ways to win consistently in multiple ways. And as far as being in your second year coaching and being a part of winning a championship on that side of things, certainly very fortunate. There are people that go coach for years and are a part of something special like that, and certainly to be a part of it with the staff we had, with Scott Owens and Riley Gagliardi and Riley Colvard, and Nick Oliver being a part of that as well, kind of built that team through the draft and stuff for us. So some special people that, you're lucky to be around a group of people like that. And it obviously takes a special group to win a championship like that. So it was a lot of fun, especially early in my career, and tons to learn from. And, especially moving forward in my career, you kind of always reflect on that a lot.
And it's interesting because there was one, actually a couple of guys a couple of names I recognize. You mentioned Riley Colvard, who was an assistant with us for 1 year. And that same year, Blake Bride was on our team for a handful of games. And then 2021, we had Evan Bushy that skated for us. I see he played a few games for you guys that season. And so a little bit of a connection there with the Wilderness. But, you mentioned the character on those guys, and Blake Bride, I remember being one high quality character kid.
Yeah, so Brider was a Colorado kid, kind of came in out of the NA. He was a 20-year-old rookie essentially in the USHL. Just going back to our first road trip, just watching him clean the table up, making sure the room was clean. We actually traded our captain away at Christmas time that year, the BCHL, kind of a mutual decision to get him going, and Brider took over as captain for us in the second half. So he was the kid that hoisted the trophy. Certainly was a team that didn't lack leadership, but he was a guy that led by example every night. Being 20 years old, continued to really work hard to get better, certainly did over the course of the year. For me and my coaching style, I don't necessarily look at a kid and say, "Hey, you're 17. Hey, you're 19. Hey, you're 20. I'm going to coach you differently." I coached him and tried to make him better, and he was very responsive to that and had a really good season for us. And obviously, made the commitment to go to Air Force, which is as far as a life decision goes, quite the commitment, and takes a special person to do that. And Brider certainly would and is up to the challenge.
Right. Yeah. He, was only with us for a little while, but I had a chance to talk to him a little while after we had after he left us, and still, just a great attitude is one thing I
Yep.
noticed, and still
Unbelievable.
Yeah. How would you describe your coaching style? Is there a particular style of play that you like to coach, or do you just mainly adapt yourself to the kind of players that you have?
Yeah, I think you're going to have any coach describe the style of play now. You want to play fast. I think that's just the norm now. So I want to be a team that is shooting above that. Like, are we going to be a team that plays with a ton of team speed, team pace, in a world where everyone's trying to play fast? It's a possession game now. Everyone's trying to possess the puck. What are you going to do to be able to do that? And I think at the junior level, and whether it's North American League or the USHL, there's a ton of pressure. It's not very hard to get these kids to work hard. Everyone's motivated. Everyone wants to go on to the college level, and these kids nowadays can certainly move and skate. So it's, for me, I think it's just directing them into a position that when they break that pressure, they can be creative and make plays. But it's just managing the game at as fast a pace as possible. I do think it's a process. I don't think you come out of the gate necessarily a finished product. I think that I'm demanding. There's accountability on the ice when I'm coaching. I don't think I think I have good communication skills. I like to get to know the kids. I like to build a trust with them, but I also do like to be demanding and get them to work hard. And then within that, be patient and let their hard work pay off. I'm not going to sit here and judge a kid on day one and expect them to be a finished product, but I do expect them to put the work in over the course of the year. And I'm passionate about player development. I'm passionate about skill development, skill acquirement. I think that's the main thing at this level, is making sure that you have a commitment to making the kids better. And as long as the kids come with a good attitude every day, I'll be there to put the time in and do that.
What are the main keys then to look for as you begin camp here? Obviously, there's a lot you got to get to know the players, and but then you're evaluating them, and you've got to prepare for an exhibition game, and also opening day on September 9th.
Yeah, it's definitely the way the schedule plays out. It's going to be a quick turnaround. To be honest with you, part of the process of taking the job is, I've scouted the league for 5 years. I know the type of players that they generally like to get in here. I think it's a generally mobile group. There's an emphasis on skill, and that's going to be something that I relate to and I like to coach. There's an element of structure here right out of the gate. We have 8 practices before our first regular season game, 4 practices before our first exhibition game. How organized can we be? How quickly? The quicker we get up and running, the better. Obviously, this first month is going to be a little bit of a process. We're going to have 6 games under our belt by the end of the month, or almost like 3 weeks into the season here, because of the showcase. And so you just got to make sure that, you're, like I said, you're getting up and running as quick as you can, but also, having in the back of your mind, knowing, hey, this is going to take some time. There's going to be some lumps early here, or at least it's not going to be as organized as you want it to be, but working through that. Obviously trying to, with the rest of the staff, be as organized as possible to get the kids as much information, but you also have to be, aware that you don't want to overwhelm them. You want to go through it organically. You want the kids to make sure that they're retaining as much information as possible, instead of you just throwing, a bunch of mud on the wall and hoping some of it sticks. So certainly some challenges with how quickly we're going to be up and running, but the strengths are, you got to figure out what you got quickly. And, for me, I like the kids to decide kind of the final decisions on who's going to make the team. You get them in a couple games, and the kids that kind of rise to the top are going to be the ones that stick around.
All right. Zoom is warning me here, so we're down to the last few minutes, but I wanted to get this in real quick. A little bit of personal info on you, and I don't want to block this information here, but 39 years old, from Brandon, Manitoba, and I'm showing a dentist because your wife Katie is a dentist, and you got your two kids, Thomas and William. And but if you can just share with us real quick, how does a hockey player and a dentist relationship mix well? How do you make that work? Because I know there's times in which that can maybe be a little bit tough, but but other times, and maybe you can provide business to her at the same time. So how does that all
Yeah.
work out?
Yeah. Well, Katie and I met at the University of Denver, and she was in pre-med at the time with the plan to be a dentist. So kind of the joke was, the dentist and the hockey player. And I don't have all my own teeth. They were all done, fixed kind of on the road, but especially before we got married, she made sure that they were all in tip-top shape and looking good. And honestly, she's a really hard worker. She's a great dentist, puts a ton of time into her craft, and certainly something that as I sit back and reflect on and just kind of watch her day in, day out, how hard she works is admirable. But, for our young boys, it's brush your teeth in the morning before we get out the door, brush your teeth at night. There's, non-negotiable. So I know our boys will certainly benefit from having mom as a dentist as well.
I'm sure there's got to be all kinds of benefits to that, and can't doubt that. So, well, I can tell your teeth seem to be great. So, she seems to do a great job there. So, well, we appreciate you taking the time here, Brett, to for us to get to know you, and we look forward to getting to know you a little bit better as the season progresses here, and seeing how the team unfolds for this upcoming season. Really appreciate you joining us.
Yep, awesome. Thank you very much. Excited as well.
All right, we'll be back in a moment to wrap up this episode of Into the Wilderness. All right, folks, just wrapping up this edition of Into the Wilderness, and I want to thank the folks at Cat 7, Pete and the gang there, for putting us on the air for the local Cloquet community to tune in to this show and keep up with wilderness hockey. If you are watching this on YouTube, feel free to give a like to the video and also subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the videos tied to Into the Wilderness and anything else that we may post that's tied to the team itself. Here is a quick look at what is happening with the Wilderness over the next few weeks. Of course, training camp opening on August the 29th. September 2nd, we've got a preseason home game against the Austin Bruins. We go to Austin for a preseason game down there at Riverside Arena on September the 3rd. September 9th and 10th, home games to start the regular season. The Fairbanks Ice Dogs in town should be a good couple of games there. 7:15 puck drop both nights. And then the team heads to the NAHL Showcase from September 14th to the 17th. Games against Shreveport, Northeast, El Paso, and Bismarck. 3 of those 4 teams made the playoffs last season, so a tough set of games there to start off the season at the Showcase. And then the month of September closes out with a series against the Anchorage Wolverines. The first game will be on September 30th. And basically, it's a slew of home games for the first 2 months of the season. Nothing but games at home, really, to start off the season, other than the games at the Showcase. So the team's staying in the state of Minnesota to start off the season for the first couple of months. So I want to thank head coach, general manager Dave Boitz, and also associate head coach Brett Skinner for joining me on this program as well. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you at the rink.